Hello and welcome to Trading Twos, a Penn State football podcast. I'm Ryan Parsons. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Will Pegler. And Will, welcome to the first podcast episode for the rest of our lives.
Dude, been a while. A lot has happened. I think we just kind of gave up a little bit after the
Straight up
Indiana loss. I mean, we were. It's been like north of a month now, I guess. 50 days. What a day, man. Matt Campbell welcomed to State College. Had his intro presser. It's really been a whirlwind since James was fired. I think starting on like Tuesday when the Kalani Sitake stuff started, it's been like ultra drive of refreshing Twitter, following everything, and just a relief that it's over and we've seemingly got our guy.
Yeah, you just said Sitake's name and I forgot that happened for a second.
Yeah,
That's how much is. And I mean, obviously a million things have happened since we last recorded the pod, but I think today we're kind of just going to focus on reactions to Campbell's first day at Penn State. We're going to do a Mount Rushmore draft of Pat Kraft quotes from the alleged leaked audio, alleged. And then we're going to finish up with closing out some of the segments we established before the year. So, I mean, I guess I'll just hop into the presser, dude. I mean, 450 dead center, home run, right?
Great, man. It was so good. It was so, a couple of things, I guess. I think, first off, just our last guy, James, I think people essentially got tired of how he came off, and Matt Campbell was he was so passionate. He was so honest. Just seems like a very down-to-earth guy. Talked about his family quite a bit, brought them up on stage at the end for a picture. It was, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. It was just awesome. It was it was just really well done all.
He kind of was like the anti-James, it felt like, at points. And I'm sure eventually, once the first inconvenience happens, the honeymoon's going to wear off a little bit. But at the same time, I'm very pleased. At the start of the coaching search, when we kind of laid out who we wanted Penn State to hire as the next coach, I feel like this checks so many of the boxes. Especially with some of the things he said about not liking the way college football is headed in some ways, and focusing on local recruiting and being process oriented and not being a self-promoter, I think was one of his quotes. I think those sort of things, like being humble and respect for the lore and the history of the university and focusing on doing things the right way. He name dropped the grades that academic grades that his other players have had, getting the most out of players who historically haven't been, or weren't rated as high prospects, things like that. You can kind of just go down the list and it's man, this is what Penn State football is about.
Yeah, I think, 100%. I think also, this was towards the end of the presser, but something that you and I were talking about before we started recording. But I think it was Neil Rudell who asked him about his relationship with State College. Had he been before? His relationship with James and Bill? Had he ever met Joe Paterno? He was trying to get, I think, more of a Penn State connection out of him, and he was honest. Matt Campbell was. He just said I've actually never been here, never really had any experience with James or Bill. I think because he kind of took the D3 route. With where he was coming from at Mount Laurel. But that was just really cool too, to see he was just no, but I'm ready to learn. Obviously he's got the Pennsylvania ties. I think it's like a movie. His grandfather ran a coal mine in Western PA and he grew up going there. And his dad was a high school football coach in Ohio. And the guy is just Midwest football. Which I think if you're going to get a Midwest football guy, a lot of those values are going to align pretty closely with Penn State and kind of what the fans are looking for. Largely, really hard nosed, great talent evaluator, like you said. Not really about the stars, getting the best out of guys. And what's cool is, and to you on this too, but he mentioned, we had to have a GM at Iowa State because we didn't have the resources to just get 34 and 3-star recruits easily like they can at Penn State. So they were grinding and working hard on kids. And now he has that background, but he doesn't need to he can apply that to all of these resources that he's going to have at Penn State in terms of recruiting, in terms of NIL money, in terms of like the region. I mean, he's the DMV, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. There's a lot of good football here, and Penn State's had success with a lot of local kids. So I'm excited to see how he uses that too. But yeah,
Yeah, didn't he say like he's going to focus on the 5 to 8 hour drive of State College is going to be the heart of recruiting? Yeah, I think he called it like a fertile area of high school recruiting, I mean, which is so true. I mean, especially if you think about all the good quarterbacks who have come out of Ohio and some of the stalwart high school programs out there, combined with like, maybe the lesser known kids from Pennsylvania. And I mean, the WPIL is like a huge recruiting hotbed, which obviously James had focused on as well. But it felt good for the new guy to come in and say, like, yeah, we're going to respect the local area. We're not going to just hop in the portal and bring in mercenaries, essentially, which might happen at the beginning when he brings people over from Ohio State. But long term, it seems like we're going to be pretty satisfied with the way he wants to build out the roster.
100%. I think he wants to bring kids in as freshmen and build them up completely, which sounds like foreign now to most of the big programs, but it's just cool to hear that he still wants to do that and wants to win that way. I think it'll be interesting to see who he brings over from Iowa State. Not just players, but obviously staff as well. I think the report has come out about Heacock, his defensive coordinator, who I think is going to be coming with him. And the one that I'm most interested in is this this guy, Derek Hooger, who I think is like in his 30s, started as a student intern with Iowa State in like 2011, I think, and worked his way up to like the GM role and kind of just like built it at Iowa State himself. I think that's going to be really, really interesting to have him on staff. I feel like he's almost like a young, like Moneyball vibe. Like he just started like running gun. He started like writing contracts and learning how to do it, doing like valuations for players and all of this stuff. So very, very excited to have him on the staff. Along with, I think, Heacock, the defensive coordinator. I forget his first name, but Matt Campbell is bringing him as well. So a lot to get into, I think, right off the bat in terms of the staff, which is cool.
Yeah, and time will tell how it fully shakes out with who is joining and who's staying. And I mean, already people like Troutwine and other guys are getting floated as like potentially out the door already. But the big thing is Terry Smith is staying on staff, and he's becoming basically the highest paid assistant in all of college football, which he essentially deserves at this point. Like if Pat wasn't going to promote him, then this is basically the second best thing. He gets to stay at his alma mater. I'm sure he'll work with the new GM type that Campbell's bringing over closely, and Terry's already out working guys. I mean, there was that one Michigan State wide receiver commit who has an offer from Penn State. I think one of the 2027 quarterbacks, Israel, got an offer from Penn State already. So Terry's already, hitting the ground running here and keeping things afloat. So got to be thrilled with that too.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is maybe not equally as exciting as just having the new head coach in here, but a really, really close second in terms of importance was keeping Terry on staff. And Matt seemed honest about that. Like he said it was one of his first questions when him and Pat started negotiations like really middle of this week, which is crazy. But he brought up Terry. He also said him and Terry actually already had a relationship because Matt started his career as a head coach at Toledo, like in his 30s. Terry was already sort of the famous high school head coach over at Gateway. And Matt said he just recruited a lot of his guys and sort of, I think he referred to it as like having a Terry Smith kind of kid, just like a good kid, hard-nosed player, which is cool. Like that they already have that connection, which I think is exciting. I mean, it's awesome, man. And Matt even said he watched the Nebraska game, and alluded to that, like that vibe in the stadium of how much Terry loves Penn State. It's just so cool all around. I think really well handled. I mean, Pat Kraft took a lot of shit throughout this whole process, but I think the Terry thing was masterfully handled. I mean, players were holding up signs to hire Terry Smith and make him the head coach, and Pat was kind of able to manage his way through that, it seems like, and obviously they made sure. I think there was a report that Terry's now the highest paid non-coordinator in college football, which he deserves. I mean, back it up. So anyway, I mean that is just so huge that he's going to stay on staff. Two guys that like you got to feel like you'd run through a brick wall for.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Kraft navigating it, it's like I guess we'll see the full extent of how things shake out once the transfer portal like fully opens up. But I don't think you could have scripted it any better the way that Pat did it. I mean, outside the 50 days of waiting and agonizing refreshing Twitter and the Sataki thing and all the other nightmares that we were living every day, I think the landing was stuck eventually, and that's kind of what's important.
Exactly. Yeah, a landing was stuck. Yeah, shout out Jared Gold, that guy on Twitter who was tracking the flight Thursday night. We thought the flight coming back from Ames back into State College was going to be the story of the night on Thursday, and clock hit midnight and something else happened, which I think we can circle back on in a bit. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a little bit about like specific answers. What did you have like a favorite part of just Matt's opening statement? Like any points he made? I wrote down a couple things, but overall I thought it was awesome. But I just wanted to see if anything stuck out.
I think, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but the emotion and like humility he showed was really cool. Especially when I think a lot of fans with James were kind of getting to a point where it felt we were feeling like James didn't appreciate being the head coach of Penn State, and like obviously he would say it all the time, but it was kind of part of his robotic set of things he would say every time he gave a press conference. So I don't know, just seeing a guy get up there and start crying immediately because of the gravity of the situation, which also goes back to I guess his honesty and humbleness, which we touched on. It was really cool. Um, yeah, and I'm fired up. I'm just excited. Like there's that's I think that's a big thing for me, just like the appreciation for the job. Because he said I think there were only one or two programs that he would have considered leaving Iowa State for. Probably would guess the other would be Ohio State, given his connection to the region. But it's awesome. That's my thing. I don't know what else you had in mind or written
Yeah,
down from there.
so appreciative and honest. Like he stood up there and immediately started tearing up. I was like, oh my God. He just seemed so excited and like nobody was going to work harder than him, I think is the point that came across to me. A lot of these that I wrote down are like football cliches, but in his opening statement, it lined up pretty closely with what Pat said about 53 days ago when him and Terry stood up there. And Terry was named the interim head coach, and Pat talked about the search. He said a builder, a great motivator, a fighter. I, Matt even used a couple of those words when he was at the podium this morning. And that's exactly what this guy is. He's tough. He's disciplined. I think he's going to be extremely tough on the players. In a good way, though. I think to James's credit, he was considered a player's coach. But at the end, I think that started to come out that it was almost to a fault. I think his loyalty and playing maybe older guys when he shouldn't have been, I think that started to happen. Anyway, and I don't think that's the same sort of vibe with this guy to me, at least. He seems like tough. I don't know. His grandpa ran a coal mine. He seems like an intense guy, and he's going to get the best out of everybody. And if in terms of effort or focus, if you're not giving it, it seems like he's not somebody I would want to be like on the other end of. So, yeah, man, just so excited. He was great. His sons' names are Rudy and Rocco. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's sick.
football
I
names
know the
straight up.
football names, like future quarterback Rocco, future DN Rudy, pretty sick. Yeah, man, he was great. I loved it. I thought Neely and Pat's setups were great. Honestly, dude, Pat just seems so relieved. What do you
I
think?
know.
Like, he just seems
Yeah.
so, thank God this is over. Like,
He basically was just like holding up Campbell and being like, "You see this? Like, I did it. I got him. Like, everyone chill." Which I mean, like, good for him. Like, I mean, he's probably the happiest dude on the planet right now. Like, especially considering how bad things got for a second. But hey, sometimes for it to be so back, it needs to be so over first.
he also, sorry, I'm going back. The main thing that surprised me about what Pat said, or I guess didn't surprise me, but that just stuck out. They asked him about the timeline of, I think Audrey asked him, credit to Audrey Snyder, Inside the Lions Substack. And she asked him about a timeline, and he was like, we didn't, he said we didn't really have one. Like, we didn't have a timeline. We were just looking for the right guy. Like, you're telling me, man, you definitely didn't. Like
You think?
they were waiting, and I don't know. It felt a little like Pat sort of let his confidence hang a little bit. Like we're Penn State. Like somebody will appear, and thank God he was right. I don't know whether he fell into it or had him in mind. I doesn't matter at this point.
It seemed like it was almost a misconnection at first with the whole agent thing. And like Pat even said, like, man, like, how did it take so long for us to find each other? And that was,
Yeah,
I'm choosing to accept that's what the process was, not that he turned down Campbell originally. Right. And I believe, I think I believe that Campbell was only contacted this late because of something lost in translation or some sort of legitimate communication error. So sometimes things have a really weird way of working out. Um, and that feels like that's what's happening in this instance.
I think that's fully what Sauber and Audrey alluded to on their podcast. They were like sometimes agents don't contact. Like I think that's pretty much what John said. Like sometimes people don't get in contact in time, or there's miscommunication. Like which is amazing. That's what happened. It's freaking nuts. But thank God it worked out. And yeah, man,
Well,
today was awesome.
I think another reason why today was so awesome and why like this hiring was so cathartic for we mentioned Pat, but
Yeah,
also like we're forgetting this quickly, but at least for me mentally and emotionally, like the search was like really difficult. Like I was
yeah.
having like straight up, I was having like bad days. Like and I don't know what that says about me being so invested in this, but waking up every day and just logging into Lions 247 message board and trying to distill thousands of pages of comments and searching names on Twitter and logging 10 hours of screen time and like sneaking away from Thanksgiving to see if there are updates. Like it kind of fucked me up, man. Like I felt really bad and insane. Um, so when that on three notification hit, finally the official one, I felt like £1,000,000 lifted off my shoulders and I don't know. It was very cathartic, and I'm first and foremost happy that Campbell is the guy because like he is the guy. But there was a certain part of me at first that was like, thank God there is a guy in general.
Yeah. I mean, Tuesday of last week feels like a lifetime ago, and that was probably a low point when it looked like we were about to get Sataki. I think we were all starting to convince ourselves on him. We were all like, why the hell is he leaving BYU? I didn't think we understand that, but based on a lot of reporting, that was pretty much like done, besides Penn, which is nuts. And when that fell through, I was like, well, I'm not sure if I even wanted that guy. I spent the afternoon convincing myself on it. Now I don't know who we go to. Like Brian Dable. I'm a Giants fan. Like I didn't want that. Like we were down in the dumps, and all the narrative starts about, oh, you fired James, which was BS, revisionist history. Like, oh, you shouldn't have done it. You did it too early. So all that started to come in, and when this started to come through on Thursday, and I guess really gain traction on like Friday afternoon, that it was nearly done. It was like vindication for Pat, for the fan base. Like, seems to me like we got somebody who truly cares about us, and we're in the honeymoon phase. But it's not just going to be roses and daisies the whole time. Like it's football. We're going to lose games, but today couldn't have gone any better, I don't think.
Well, you know what I was thinking about that, like it being the honeymoon phase and everything. Um, this seems like a guy that even when things aren't going well, you kind of trust that we're on the right path overall. Like with James, I think there was times in which we were questioning the process. And I guess that is like I might have said this before. This is kind of, you know, you got to live and die by the process, and both James and Campbell seem like process guys. But this seems like a guy that even if we're having a down season or a bad game or something, it would be like, okay, you feel good about the hands that the program is in, and you feel good about the overall trajectory of the program.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I do, and not to like shit on James too much because he did a lot of good, I guess, too. but
No, bro, like I will
but
I will shit
like
on James as much as we want at this point. Like
yeah,
I feel
I don't
very relieved.
I just to your point about the process thing, like they're both kind of process oriented guys. Um, I think with James though, and we'll see. It didn't feel that way today. Maybe it becomes that way. I do not think it will. But with James, it felt forced, like the 1-0 thing, and then right before the Northwestern game, he didn't start his press conference with like the robotic scouting report of the opposing team. Like everything was just like, this is how we do it, and it's because it's my way, not because with Matt Campbell, it feels like this is how we do it, and it's because it's the right way, and it's what I believe in, like to my core, and I want to build it with you guys. James was, as we know, a control freak, and I think was like, we're doing it because it's my way. So that I think, if we're trying to put our finger on what felt better today, aside from the obvious, like that he seems fired up, he seems ready to roll, he's young, he's energized. I think that's how I felt. Like, wow, he is just, it's so authentic. Like he's just passionate and he believes in it like so hard. That's what felt refreshing to me.
Yeah. Um, God, I'm kind of getting emotional thinking about this. Like, I mean, especially when we were at our lowest point last week, like, it was very easy for your mind to get to a spot where it's like,
Yeah.
we're fucked, like, badly. Um, Whether it was Dable or if it was Terry and the unknown or Tommy Reese or like insert random person who was getting an interview at this point. Like, I don't know. Obviously we could go 7-5 next year, but this could not work out, obviously. But it feels very relieving that we're in a situation here where we're talking about the press conference and we're all fired up, and I'm like, get me to September of next year already.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. Get me to the Marshall game. Like we're already back to square one, which is awesome. I love it. Like I love it so much. Yeah, and that was so. Yeah, I mean, call it what you want. It was energizing. It was refreshing. Yeah, exactly. It was really energizing, and yeah, putting it that way, like thinking about James's last press conference, the bumps and bruises, like getting killed by Ohio State this year again, losing to Iowa on the road, like but the Indiana heartbreaker, like that came up in the Pat recording, and just a lot of like really emotional year. I think since COVID, there hasn't been a year that's been this crappy on the team and a lot on the players and the fans. So yeah, we deserve this one. I think for sure. So just a couple other things too, actually, that stood out, just funny tidbits that I thought were cool. Um, Matt made a point to bring up Cale Sanderson. He said he had a 45-minute call with him, which Cale's like arguably the GOAT of college athletics, I think. So great guy to talk with. And obviously a former Cyclone. So I think that was really cool. And then Governor Shapiro got involved apparently, which is
Yeah.
nuts. So just a statewide, school-wide effort, which is kind of cool, I think. But
I mean, shout out him, right? For like
yeah,
being like, this is so important to our state. Like both Pennsylvania and Penn State are like very intertwined and symbiotic. So, I mean, shout out him for getting in the mix and doing what he can to push it over the finish line. I'm sure he'd do the same for Pitt, like whatever, but I don't know. That was kind of cool.
yeah, I forget. I think he was backing Pitt on game day, which is
I mean, he's like it's
Pitt,
like whatever.
like, dude. But yeah, I thought that was cool. The 45-minute conversation with Cale too. Like, I don't really know what James and Cale's relationship was like. I have no idea. But I don't know. If you want to be a successful college coach at any level, Cale seems like a guy you should hitch your wagon to. The guy's just a winner, and he's intense, and from all accounts is loved by his players, or I guess his wrestlers. So anyway, I loved that detail. I was like, hell yeah, bro. You could point of saying that.
I don't think James and Cale had a great relationship.
Really? Yeah.
I'm not reporting anything, but
I mean, I think more will come out, but anyway, we don't have to dwell on him. But
yeah.
even like the reporter, like Audrey and John, and a lot of the reporters that you and I follow, they seem, and a lot of it too is like, well, they're just excited to have a new guy at all. So I think there's some of that happening here too. But he just seems honest. That's what they all said about Terry too. Like, yeah, it's refreshing to cover a guy that, sets what's on his mind and doesn't give you completely packaged answers always. Obviously, you need to do that sometimes, but none of that from Campbell today. So I want to talk to him again. When's the next media availability? I guess January. I don't really know, but
I don't know. I mean, it seems like an amazing fit, especially more than Sataki. Like once you kind of boil it down now, I think the main part of that fit is just like the focus on the other things outside of like, winning a national championship at all costs. I think when Iowa State, they were never going to win a national championship. They never had financial backing. And now he does have all of these things to apply to his process that worked really well at a different school. So I'm just excited to see how that'll work. And he has like, you know, it's like giving a small government like a bunch of F-18 Hornets and being like, like, welcome to the big leagues, man. I don't know, like it's going into the U.S., like dropping into I don't know somewhere in Asia and deploying a bunch of AK-47s and saying let's go, like let's.
It, yeah, I mean, it feels like that. Like he didn't shy away from it either. Well, I think Pat didn't shy. He never does. Pat's like he's gonna win us national championships, which is sick. And B, Matt didn't shy away from what he's done. Like he was like, we had an 11-win season. We were up against some of the richest programs in the sport in the Big 12, like your Oklahomas, your obviously in-state Iowa. They were the little brother the whole time, and it's Baylor,
Texas Tech apparently
Tech. Like you go
$40
up, yeah,
million roster.
yeah, you go up against all of these schools that have their own crumble cookies, and they hung with them and they beat a lot of them. So it's crazy. I mean, there were stats being thrown around about like Iowa State has like 8+ win seasons. Matt Campbell has 5 of them, and they've existed. It's an old program that existed for 100 some odd years or something. So one of the toughest jobs in the sport, and he has done nothing but been successful with it. So just excited to see what he can do. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Um, any final takeaways from the presser? I mean, it feels like we could talk forever about it, but just like at the end of the day, to me, the big takeaway was I like this guy. I want to hang out with this guy. I want this guy to be my football coach. It seems like a good fit. Um, I guess I will add one more thing before I see what your final takeaways are. But I kind of got this feeling the whole time where it's like this seems so good or too good to be true. Where like I got worried about him leaving already. Like I was like, oh, I don't. I was like, oh, we're gonna win like 2 national championships in the next 10 years, and he's gonna like go to Alabama, or like he's gonna, I don't know. I was just worried about already getting worried about losing him essentially, just because it seemed like such a good fit. I was like, oh, I don't want him to have like one down year and like the fans turn on him. Like I think this is our guy, so very happy about that.
No, that jumped into my brain too. Because he just seems so awesome. It's like, who wouldn't want this guy? So, but based on, I think he gave a little context into how he did have that like climb the ladder mindset a little bit, and then he talked about, I think post COVID, like him and his wife Erica just like locked in on like staying at a place and building a place, and obviously that place was Iowa State. Also, just how tough it seemed for him to leave Iowa State. Like he couldn't even start talking about his players without crying. So he seems like somebody who gets very rooted into a place and loves it and just wants to build. So the thought of somebody else wanting him or poaching him crossed my mind too. But like at this point, man, where else would you rather be? Hopefully,
Let's build, brother.
as long as our relationship with him stays good, then keep it rolling.
Yeah. But yeah. Any other final takeaways from you for the presser?
He's a guy that seems like his burger at the Field is going to be good. So I'm hoping. I think I said like lettuce, tomato, caramelized onions, couple Miller Lights. He seems like that kind of guy. Doesn't
I
seem
formation.
like olive tapenade, whole wheat turkey burger bullshit. Nobody in particular, but yeah, he just seems like a guy. Like he just seems like a guy that you just want to back. So yeah, man, I think we could talk about it for like hours. We probably will after we stop recording, but I think that that about sums it up. Unless you had anything else too.
I mean, yeah, but I think we kind of got the gist of it.
I do maybe sort of a transition here. Our boy Bobby Flounders, Bobby Flo, asked Pat about a certain recording that went live last week on Twitter by some YouTuber, and then it made the rounds on Twitter. We were up still when it happened, so none of us went to bed until like 3 a.m. just listening to it and dissecting it. But yeah, this recording dropped of a meeting Pat Kraft had with about 9 or 10 guys on the leadership council. So like some of the leading players from this year that have the opportunity to return next year. So like I think Tony Rojas, guys like that were in the room, and Pat confirmed it today that it was recorded and leaked, and pretty crazy when it first dropped.
Yeah, that was it was last Thursday night, so like we were already glued to Twitter on Jarrett Gold's account watching that flight come in, because all of the buzz was still happening and he had not officially signed yet. Like I think in that stage it was still he was the main target, but wasn't locked in. And then the bombshell hit the timeline of the I think Kevin Horn was the one who
Yep.
tweeted out the video,
Yep.
and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be up for another hour now.
Yeah. Like
And
it
we
was
were just Twitter was buzzing with like the 20 people or whoever who was like awake and live tweeting it essentially. And I was like, dude, when we wake up and this hits mainstream, it's gonna be crazy. But I mean, at first it seemed so bad, and then you're 5 minutes in, you're like, wait, this is low key a good look for Pat, I think. And I kind of that combined with the Campbell reporting, I think kind of put me at ease that night going to bed, being like, okay, I think we're actually in a good spot here.
so totally agree. To me, it was a 30-minute recording of how an intense athletic director and former football player would talk to his players. I thought it was great. It fired me up. I think all the Penn State fans felt that way. And I think the Friday like news cycle wasn't as bad as we thought. I think the idea that the worst part of it was that it did leak. Like who the hell did that? That sucks. That was the
Yeah.
worst part of it. Otherwise, it was kind of funny and like awesome. But yeah, to your point, like we had just gotten the video of some kid who lives at the retreat, like filming the private jet coming in from Ames, and we are like, let's go, like they're coming back with a contract. And then excuse me, like literally 5 minutes later that came out. And but yeah, I thought it was it ended up being great. I mean, Pat apologized today, like said sorry for anyone I offended because he swore a lot, but and kind of roasted several other programs, which I thought was hilarious. But
Yeah.
he just sounded intense and like somebody who desperately wants somebody like Matt Campbell who desperately wants to win here. That's how it came off to me.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the doubts we were having about him, and it was like, oh, he'd leave for an SEC school if he could, or all this stuff was kind of quelled there. Um, and even out like if this happened at a random school, it would have just been so interesting to listen to. Like I think we have a weird perspective because it's our school, but you never hear those private conversations. And even this was such a weird combination of people where it was so honest and so out there that I think it was very cool to listen to. And it kind of gave a look into why a lot of things have happened, especially with James's firing, like the discrepancy over the way NIL money was being spent. Like I think Pat said they have a top 5 roster, but 105 people are getting an equal share of money, where at Ohio State it's like the top 50 guys are getting the top end of that. And I think Chuck Losey, we think Chuck Losey was the other guy in the room, talking about how, you can come to college and get NIL money and that'll, set you up for life, but we want you to go to the NFL and get money that'll set up your kids and their kids and their kids for life. Kind of just, I don't know. It was a cool insight into, or it put to words a lot of things that we think about what Penn State stands for and represents, and kind of their philosophies behind some of these things.
Yeah, it felt like it was like, yeah, these are all the things we've been talking about in terms of concerns with the program, and like they're all true, and they all seem to be getting addressed, or at least they know exactly. Like, I don't know who exactly, but players in the room were talking about James not playing guys like Kobe Howard or Tysier Denmark right away at the beginning of their like, and that's been a thing. Like James gets asked about it, like why isn't Kobe Howard getting snaps? The receivers haven't been like NIL thing. To your point, the whole thing about James being loyal to a fault. So it was all just. They even mentioned like, you guys, you're putting me in a tough spot with the Terry Smith sign, guys, and they were all like, yeah, sorry, like that might come up in our segment in a sec, but so yeah, man, it was super interesting. It also just like sounded like you and I and our friends at a bar, which I think is funny. Like it kind of gives you an inside look. Like, yeah, everybody's just wants to win, and you can put professional wording on it, but everybody's kind of coming from the same perspective a lot of the times. Like you sounded like us, so I just thought it was cool overall, honestly.
No, agreed, and well said. And especially listening to it after having like 4 beers out, like definitely enhanced the experience of like, this is just me and Will in
Yeah, yeah,
Columbus, like and a loud bar just like shouting at each other. Uh, do you want to get into the Mount Rushmore?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So we had this dumb idea that we're just gonna do a Mount Rushmore draft of Pat quotes from the alleged league audio.
Alleged Pat quotes. No, I'm just kidding.
Alleged Pat Kraft quotes.
Yeah.
Definitely real, but definitely also alleged. Want to do snakes? I'll give you the first draft, and then I'll get
Sure.
the next two.
Yeah. So I'll pick a segment of like a bigger point he was making, but he was going on this like rant about how Penn State's on the cusp. It's something James has said it a lot, like trying to get over the hump. We're really close. He brought up Ohio State. He brought up Oregon. And then he goes, Michigan sucks. Michigan cheated. That's real, by the way.
That's
He was like, these guys like that. That was one of my favorite ones because it sounded so real. He was like, Michigan sucks and they cheated and that's real. Like they did cheat. Which is probably something I've literally said before. So it was funny. He was just reminding his players like, nah, those guys suck. And they did cheat. So I loved that line.
yeah, that's like 1-1, I think.
Yeah.
That was to your point about things you would say at a bar. Like that's like me going up to my friend who doesn't watch college football and just being like, you see these fuckers, like that this isn't real. Like they're actually frauds and they cheated. And they're someone's just like, okay, man, like whatever.
Also, I don't know if Pat has like more information than the public does about the scandal that happened.
That's what he was implying. It felt like a little bit.
Well, when he was like, "That's real," by the way, it's like, okay, yeah, like it seems real, yeah, but like, what do you know? Like, he didn't get into it with the players, but anyway, yeah.
Good 1-1.
Thank you, man.
This one I don't think is actually the second best quote, but I just liked it personally when he said when they were talking about how a lot of the Bama players would go to Atlanta after games to celebrate, and Pat's like, "Yeah, baby, go to Philly all day, just don't get arrested." Like,
Yeah.
you know,
That was my number 2. Yeah.
like if you're worried about like, he's like, yeah, if your main thing with Penn State is that like doggies isn't cool enough, like yeah, go to McGillen's, like drive 3 hours and go to like Voyer in Philadelphia, just don't get arrested. I don't care. So funny. And also like Tuscaloosa is like equidistant from
I know
Atlanta.
that was bizarre. We kind of deduced that it was a player talking about his time in Alabama. That would be King Mac. Yeah, that was odd. Like they were like, yeah, man, the Bama players get to go out in Atlanta. Pat was like, what? Like go out in Philly. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
fun. Like don't get in trouble. I don't like. So yeah, agreed. I thought that was really funny. They kept making points about a state college's remote, and it seemed like he was getting tired of that.
I agree. And then I think Chuck made the point that was like allegedly Chuck Losey was like, yeah, but the other side of this is Penn State is a football factory, and you come here and you focus on football and you develop, and then you go to the NFL. And it's like, yeah, it's his response to I think that concern about state college being in the middle of nowhere was very convincing. If you go back and listen to the full thing,
agreed.
My second pick that I'm going to take, I only like this because of this one specific part, but he says we need to get a plan and a strategy to go beat Notre Dame. And then he pauses and then he says, and Marcus, fuck them. So he just like is really focused on like, I actually hate Marcus Freeman. And it's just like, we gotta go beat Notre Dame and Marcus. Fuck them. It's like, yeah, man. Like literally they're just like, I've said that before.
Dude, he's a fan. He's not a fan. He's a fan with a really important role, but yeah, it just you could feel the disdain of the Orange Bowl on his lips.
Literally.
He was like, oh, and Marcus, God, he got us. Yeah, I that wasn't on my list, but another great one. I loved that one. Yeah, another example of he's like, there's no secret about the 6 to 7 programs that are in that elite upper echelon above Penn State. And it's cool that he is just like calling it out to his star players. Okay, we're on a roll. A couple really good ones. This one, a lot of people are saying it was kind of mean. It was in the sort of the genre of players being like, look, I'm not going to lie. Coach Franklin like kept guys in too long or wouldn't play the young guys. Pat's like, yeah, I mean, Tony, like you go down, the defense sucks all of a sudden. And I love Dom, but come on. Which is tough because like Dom DeLuca, classic Penn Stater. I mean, he went off against SMU in that round 1 game last year, and some of my like favorite memories as a Penn State fan were that day, and he was a part of a couple of them. But that's been a big storyline. Like Dom DeLuca, I think last year played like less than half of the snaps, maybe right around it. And this year he's at like 75% to 80 since Rojas got hurt. And yeah, it's shown. So it sucks that it got recorded, and Pat said that to like 10 players who requested a meeting with him, and now he has to like answer for that to Dom DeLuca. That's bullshit, frankly. That sucks for him. But a true statement, I just thought it was kind of funny. He was like, I love
Yeah.
Dom. Like everybody loves Dom, but come on, guys. Like he's
Yeah,
not
it's
a
like,
star.
and then he said he called Gronowski a 90-year-old man with a torn MCL, and it's like DeLuca can't tackle that guy. Like,
Yeah.
well, that
Yeah.
also was a really cool insight into like his disagreement with the way James was loyal to a fault and the way he handled playing freshmen, which was kind of a recurring theme throughout the audio as like a concern with some of the players.
Yeah. They called it out. Like, yeah, they were totally straight up. Like it's a thing. And I think to our point about like feeling vindicated or whatever, like totally a thing, which is interesting.
That's real, by the way.
Yeah, that's real, by the way. But yeah, I'm glad we're getting all these. This is a gold mine. I'm just gonna like tweet these randomly during games next year. This was it came in at 4, but could be 1-1. So again, I think this may have been in his line of fury about the other Big Ten teams, the other like cool towns that other programs have that State College does not have. And I don't remember exactly the lead up before or after, but Pat's like, yeah, you go to Oregon, bunch of weirdos at Oregon, man. He just like what?
I knew that quote wasn't getting back to me.
Yeah, like that was. I thought that was so funny. He clearly hates Dan Lanning too. He does not like Oregon. There was another quote about Oregon that I really liked that maybe can get an honorable mention if you don't take it. But yeah, it was. I thought that was hilarious. He was just like, no, State College is awesome. There are a bunch of weirdos at Oregon. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
So,
I think he said ain't shit going on in Oregon, which is so funny.
Oregon, man. Yeah. So I love that one. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was. I should have taken that one instead of the Notre Dame quote. I just like really liked how he added the thing about Freeman.
It's about the delivery.
Yeah. I'm gonna take. I guess I get the last two here. I'll take. At the end when they kind of are like all leveling and laughing, and he's like, oh, like I know you guys are talking other programs and stuff, and he's like, Miami ain't that fucking nice, Tony. I know that guy. And just like, all right, like. I don't know what he has on Cristobal, but like, sure.
He was on a rampage. He was just like, last stand, like I am hating on every single program that comes across my desk right now. Like,
yeah, he's like, I might not ever see you guys again, so I'm just gonna like get this all out here. Like,
yeah.
Fuck Miami, Tony.
It was so funny. You got one more, and then I think I get one more.
Yeah, you got one more.
Okay, all right.
I'm kind of torn between two. I want to take this just because like if this is real, it's actually crazy. But when he's talking about NIL money and he's like, Georgia fines players $10,000 if they miss class. That's how they get their money back. I don't know if he was like joking or not, but
yeah,
when he said that, I was like, that's actually kind of genius. Like,
I know.
You give players $1 million, and it's like, yeah, you have $1 million, but if you miss class, it's 10 grand a pop.
Yeah, that was awesome. And allegedly, whoever was recording when we listened, it kind of sounded like whoever was very close to the mic. And Pat said that, and they were like, "Damn, for missing one class." Like,
Yeah,
which is like, yeah. I mean, that might be the one thing I guess isn't great because if that's not true, like, I guess he probably shouldn't be throwing that around. But the guy didn't know he was getting recorded, so whatever.
Yeah, I kind of was like, I guess he said it as a negative, but I kind of was like, oh, this is kind of maybe this is a good idea. Like add reverse incentives for NIL money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, just go to class. Like it's all good. It's not that hard. It's not that big of a campus.
Yeah, good grade elite, right? We got a couple guys who still aren't going to class.
Yeah.
That was James's stage. Yeah.
All right, I will do one more, and then I think we should do a couple honorable mentions because I just thought of a few. But he's presumably speaking to Grunk. I have no idea, but he is talking about kind of the wide receiver room. And he's like kind of talking about the failures of the season. And he's like, yeah, man, we didn't go get you a dog at wide receiver. True. Facts, Pat. You kind of hit the nail on the head. There was a rumor that, and again, now we're just like saying stuff, but
allegedly
there was rumors about like James getting pushed to get Pena when maybe he didn't want to. So it felt like that was anyway, that all harkens back to James's maybe lackluster, less than enthusiastic NIL approach. And Pat was like, yep, we failed again at wide receiver. We didn't get you a dog. I didn't pick that quote for humor as much as one of the most telling ones. Like, damn, yeah, he recognizes it, and
Yeah.
they failed.
Well, and then he also name dropped Carnell Tate at a point. He was like, "You would have liked Carnell Tate, wouldn't you?" Which I think was kind of like implying that they wanted to get him, and maybe there wasn't the money there, or James couldn't land him, or whatever. So
I mean, that would have been great.
interesting.
I would have liked that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's real because he didn't say he wasn't just like Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith. He said someone who was more like realistic.
I know. Yeah. Like their wide receiver too, who would be like a legend at Penn State. Um, any honorable mentions?
Um, the thing about like if I don't get this right, my career is over is like how do you fuck up Penn State? I mean, yeah, very real, like very very real. And I mean, I guess him saying that out loud was kind of like, oh, like yeah, bro, like they know this, but it's just interesting having an AD put that to words and just talking about it from like a like how do you screw Penn State up? It's so true. Like if you can't get a Penn State hire right, like you're not getting hired anywhere else because it's like one of the blue blood programs.
Yeah. Yeah. Facts. I love that one. I had that written down. I also liked when he was just talking about it was interesting. He was like, we have to win the big games. Which yeah, that you do. He was like, the Oregon quarterback was shaking in overtime. Like, we gotta win that game. And it's like, like you can feel the pain and like how
Yeah,
much he wants it. He's like, we have to win these games once. Saying he said it about Indiana too. He was like, yeah, the fans were applauding you guys for a good effort. Like, F that. Like, I want to win. Like I
yeah,
like it. Like, yeah, man, it's time to win some of these things. And like the Oregon game clearly was the straw that broke the camel's back a little bit, but it was funny. I don't know if Dante Moore actually was shaking. I would have been. I guess he didn't do that much in overtime. He almost fumbled, so maybe he was
yeah.
shaking.
He did
Oh,
fumble. Yeah.
yeah,
Um. Yeah, that was very much like just felt like what we would say after a loss. Just be like, how does one of these not go our way? Like
exactly.
they're not that much more talented than us. Like there's just some intangible thing that's happening from preventing us from winning big games. So I don't know. Maybe that's why he fired James. He's just like, this is uncanny at this point. We just got to flush this guy out of here.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it was uncanny. So it was cool hearing him say that too, for sure.
yeah, that's all I had written down. I mean, I'm sure there's more I could think of or remember, but I've exhausted my list at this point.
I think those were the highlights, man. Honestly,
Go and listen to it if you have not
yeah.
listened to it. It's
There's
allegedly real.
somebody went out and cut out some like I don't know who some podcaster had it first and like narrated it. Really, just if you're a Penn State fan, it's super unhelpful because it's just like all of this already. I think somebody else edited out the commentary, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's findable. I
Do you
didn't
think we'll
engage
ever
with it.
figure out who leaked it?
I don't know. It freaks me out, man. I mean, isn't it like a felony?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
crazy. I mean, I hope whoever did it, like, it's just the school is just like that's ridiculous. Like, get out of here, and
Yeah.
then that's that. Like,
'Cause it's definitely a bad look to like sue one of your players.
right? Like, it was a mistake. The point about it being reported at least as a meeting that the players asked for. Like, imagine being part of that group. You asked for a meeting with Pat, and then you record them. I mean, I
Yeah, you
get
ambush him.
the search was frustrating. A lot of guys were tweeting stuff that has since been deleted. So there were a lot of emotions flying, but what a huge mistake.
Yeah. Um, that's all that needs to be said about that, I think. All right, I think we can kind of wrap up here a little bit. I mean, I think the last thing we wanted to touch on was before the season we established an over under for the Rutgers attendance is 55,000 and the reported attendance was let me pull this up, sorry. 55,212. We took the over, so
Nailed it.
cash that, take that to the bank.
Successful season, dude.
Yeah.
Little did we know when we took that the game would have a lot of eyes on it for other reasons. It would be a huge shootout for bowl eligibility
Yep.
against Ali McManus, the former Minnesota quarterback. Anyway, just disgusting, but we
Um
nailed it.
home run. Yeah. I mean, shout out Rutgers. I think I said this when we first started talking about it. They have a pretty cool game day atmosphere and pregame situation and tailgating scene. So happy they got, because they're never going to be competing for anything, unfortunately. So let them have that.
I Everybody was sort of, or not everybody, but people were making the point like Penn State potentially would have been better off at this point to not make a bowl. Like, it's the Pinstripe Bowl, which I don't really subscribe to. Like, I love watching them play football, so I'm just excited to see them play. But for a logistics reason of bringing in a new coach, I get the appeal of just not making a bowl game, but also not making would have entailed losing or would have included losing to Rutgers. And like, I can't have that. I was
No,
so nervous during that game. Like, I mean, and Rutgers literally had to, I said it, I was like, we're going to need a lucky ass turnover because the defense couldn't get a stop. And Rutgers literally
happened.
handed the ball over to Penn State. So we'll see how they hold up against Clemson. That's a whole other conversation. But
Well, hey, shout out to Penn State for accepting a bowl invite.
yeah, have other teams not?
Well, there's been many. There's also, I think there were some teams that thought they were going to make the playoffs and then didn't. And then when they didn't make the playoffs, they kind of like whined and made like complete fools out of themselves and then declined bowl invites. I think there's a few teams that did that. Can you think of
They like
maybe
took
one
their
of
ball
them?
and
Yeah.
maybe like programs that have like movies made about them. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, maybe programs where like Pat Kraft name dropped their head coach and
Yeah.
then said fuck them.
Somebody, I don't know. Somebody, that's horrible to hear though. Clark Leah, the Vanderbilt head coach, made it clear that they were playing in their bowl game. So shout out to him. Shout out to us for playing Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's beat them, dude.
I saw
Clemson.
Drink throw some shots at Notre Dame too for declining it, so shout out to him.
Shout out.
Feels like there's fewer and fewer good men left in college football that want to do things the right way and honor some of the traditions, and I guess Marcus Freeman is not one of them.
I'm just happy we have our guy. Seriously. I'm
Same.
so thrilled. I just feel safe. We were out like blowing in the wind there for a sec, unprotected, just taking shots off the bow, like in the middle of the ocean, like just getting rocked. And it got pretty ugly there. But we have our guy, and the fan base, I don't think we can be any happier than we are right now. So bright future, and let's back the hell out of him.
Yeah, and let's soak in this honeymoon period because realistically, nothing's gonna bad will happen until like the USC game next year. So we have like almost a year of like enjoying things. So let's enjoy things. Let's celebrate all the little wins. Like maybe we'll get a cool transfer, or we'll get a cool coaching hire. Let's get behind Campbell and get behind Penn State
Couldn't have said it better myself.
and beat Clemson, I guess.
Beat Clemson, yeah, facts.
Cool. Anything else you have to wrap up here before we wrap up?
I think that's it, man. Good to be back. Sorry that was such a long break, guys, but I don't know.
Yeah, we're probably going to take another really long one now. The season's actually over, but
what we could do like post
pinstripe.
Zane Durant just opted out of the Pinstripe Bowl. We'll see who else does. I'm potentially going to go. Maybe we'll see some friends there and enjoy Yankee Stadium. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll circle back around then.
Yeah, live show post pinstripe bowl.
That'd be kind of fun at Billy's in the Bronx.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, we had 4 people that we were their number 1 podcast this year, according to podcasts, Spotify for podcasters. So one of them was Nikhil. Shout out Nikhil. The other 3, maybe my dad. So shout out those 4 people who we were their number 1 listeners for, and had a bunch of people reaching out and asking when we were gonna react to all this stuff that's happening. So appreciate the support as always. Run us up on all the social platforms that we're at Trading Twos PSU on Twitter. Like, subscribe on YouTube, blah blah blah. Click all the buttons that make our podcast do better. We appreciate all the support, guys.
Thank you, guys.